I wanted to talk about Padmasana because Padmasana is a pose that I've been trying. I can do big toe pose and I can put one ankle in my groin area, but I can't do it with both. And I just created a slight injury in my knee, so I wanted to talk about this. Because I'm always telling my yoga students to not force their practice. And I created the injury by forcing my knee into place. So, I'm going to get down here and I'm going to show you basically what happened. So in Padmasana you have both ankles. Ideally both knees are going to be on the floor and both ankles. I'm not going to do it with my right ankle. I can do half lotus. So this is half lotus pose. One foot is underneath the other foot. And this ankle is not placed on your groin, but it's placed underneath it. So this is half lotus. So I've been practicing half lotus pose to get myself prepared for Padmasana, because full lotus pose is not a pose that everybody can do right away. You can also do butterfly pose and flutter your knees. I've been teaching this to my students lately. But I tell them to do it slowly and gently because the muscles in your hips and in your knees are very small muscles, and when they become torn, because they're such small muscles, when you tear them, it becomes easier to tear them again. It's harder to repair the muscle tissue. You have other muscles around them that can compensate for it, but they're still small muscles. So if you're still moving in the same ways that you hurt it, like if I was still trying to do Padmasana, I'd be hurting myself. So I've gone back to preparing myself for Padmasana to relieve the injury that I've just created, right? And I just got a couple more poses or things that you can do to prepare yourself for Padmasana. The other one is just in a circular motion. You're kind of massaging the hip joint here and you're opening it up. To do Padmasana, you're trying to open your hip joints up. Because for me, what I'm doing, I'm going to demonstrate what I did for you with the opposite knee. But what I did basically is I've tried to push it down like this. And this is not how the body naturally moves, so you are forcing it. This is human intervention, right? You're intervening, you're grabbing your knee, your foot, and you're telling it, I need you to move in this way. But if we look at the knee joint moves in one direction, two directions, forwards and back. The knee joint does not move. The knee joint is not the same as a wrist joint. Your knee joint cannot move like your wrist can move or like your ankle can move, right? Your knee joint has one plane of motion, up and down, away from the body, towards the body. What I am trying to do by grabbing the knee and forcing the knee down and lifting the ankle up is I'm creating stress in the knee joint. If you can see, the knee only moves in this direction, and I'm trying to push it down and towards me. My hip just popped there. So I can already tell that this is not the way that my body wants to move. But if I keep moving it in that way, I haven't even put myself, just popped again. I haven't even put my knee towards the ground. That's where the injury happens, is when you place this ankle into your groin, And this is what I did. I had this one down. I'm going to try to... See? My hips aren't opening up enough because I can't even get this foot down. And I'm trying to open... This is where the injury happened. I can't do it now because I'll injure myself again, but I basically tried to lift this ankle above my left shin. And as I did that, the force of that popped my knee. I'm pretty sure it's in my kneecap or something. I messed up the joint. So you can see, the knee moves in one direction, this way. I'm trying to move it in this crazy way. And the only way you can move your knee in that position is if your hips will open up. And because I've had so many hip injuries from skateboarding, my hips are too tight. I have to open up my hips more. So now I know the direction of my practice, right? I need to work on opening my hips up more before I try to force my knees down there. Because the problem is in the root of my body, which is my hips. The root of Padmasana is your hips. Because if your hips can't open up, you can't do Padmasana. The root of warrior might be your feet. Because if you can't stand in warrior pose, right, if your front knee is too far back or too far forward, it's going to hurt. So now my knee's clicking a lot, and I'm icing it a lot, and I'm dealing with the issue. I'm not suing my yoga teacher. I mean, I did this myself. This is my personal yoga practice. Like, I didn't do this in a yoga... I did it, actually, as I was teaching at the YMCA, so... You know what I'm saying? Stuff happens. But I did it to myself, and this is part of my personal practice, and my personal practice is separate from my teaching practice. Like, I'm completely obsessed with yoga. Some people just teach yoga, and then they have, like, an office job, and they're like... Anyways. I love it. So... I took a yoga teacher training with Oxygen Yoga and Fitness, and I didn't end up working there. I got the job. I didn't end up working there because it was a heated studio and it was high-intensity workouts, and I didn't think I could handle it because I was practicing the yoga classes that they were offering, and it was stressing me out. It was too much for me, so I had to step back. And now I have 2 yoga jobs that I love, that are not in heated studios that I can handle. So. And then I'll work my way up from there. So, what they said at the Oxygen Yoga training was exactly what I told you. Like, we need to respect and honor the way the body moves. And I noticed some yoga teachers doing this, like, if you start your yoga practice, like, let's say with a sun salutation. A sun salutation is all forward movement, right? Your joints are all moving forwards and back. But if you take a twist and you add it in to a sun salutation, they might hurt themselves because there's a possibility of them making the joints move in a direction that they're not supposed to move. So I thought that was... I haven't heard that in any other yoga teacher training or yoga studio that I've been to, and I've actually come across teachers who've done... I'm not trying to call anybody out, but I've come across teachers who have done yoga poses that I see could potentially injure their students. So you should keep this in mind, because this is very important, and there's not enough... I'm taking my personal training certification, but so there's not enough anatomy taught in yoga. Many yoga teachers agree with me on this, but they don't, the majority of yoga teachers, in my opinion, don't understand anatomy, and they don't understand the physical body well enough to prevent injury from their, to prevent their injury, to prevent their students from injury. My dad's doing construction downstairs. So this is an important observation that I think should be brought up to the yoga industry, because in the same way that I've had many yoga teachers agree with me that anatomy is not taught enough, they also agree that you can't really learn anything in 200 hours. Like, personally, I think a 200-hour yoga certification is bullshit. Sorry if that offends you, but you can't learn anything well enough to teach it in only 200 hours. It sounds like a lot, but it's not. Yoga is, you can study yoga for the rest of your life, and you still don't know anything. Like, what do they say? The more you study, the more a man studies, the more he knows. The less he knows, right? Yoga is massive. People are inventing new things every day, right? So I hope that was valuable. Try not to force your yoga practice or to force your body into any shapes. This was really a masterclass on Padmasana. So if you're preparing yourself for Padmasana, you do the butterfly pose, and the other pose that I learned was stacking your knees over your ankles. So just sit with your knees stacked over your ankles. And as you can see, my knee is raised. What's the root of my knee? Why is my knee lifted? Well, my knee's lifted because my hips aren't opening up. Because my hip. Yeah, sure, my knee, but that has nothing to do with my knee. Because my knee is attached. The knee bone's attached to the hip bone. And if the hip bone won't open up, I've talked to students who said that they can't sit cross-legged. Like, when they try to sit cross-legged, it's like this. Their knees, their hips can't open up. Not their knees. The knees have nothing to do with it. It's the hips. So, I hope that was valuable. Happy practicing. And I'll talk to you later.